Welcome to 500 Doors, your real estate podcast, speaking with industry experts in real estate buying, selling, planning, developing, wholesaling, investing, financing, management. If it's real estate, we're talking about it. I'm your host, Kim Hayden, an award-winning 6- and 7-figure real estate agent with over 2 decades of experience. Understanding real estate is a dream for many, that we, real estate professionals, have the ability to bring that dream to reality while building better communities and being the change we want to see. We all know that in real estate, a huge portion of real estate is in its leadership. And finding good leadership that aligns with you is critical. This should be the very first thing you do as a new agent. And maybe this is something you offer if you're a long-term agent. My next guest, I have known since, I believe, 2017, 2018. And what truly stood out to me as being a mom of 3 is his true passion and engagement, his authenticity in being part of a unit that he's so proud of, his family. Richard Tomasini started his career in 1999 and flipped over $23 million in real estate before he was 30. Between 2007 and 2010, when many were leaving the real estate industry, Richard chose to pivot and lean into the market, closing over 100 short sales. Being open to opportunity and taking action has been a constant strength of Richard's, along with his leadership and his integrity. In 2017, seeing again the shift in the real estate industry, bringing him to today's evolution of his real estate career. He now leads a team of over 2,400 real estate professionals in, get this, 14 different countries. I am super excited to have this conversation because if anybody can talk about leadership and alignment and all these things, you are the man, Richard. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Kim. For the viewers that are watching this, I gave Kim a 1-sentence bio, and she went and patched up every bio that I put out there and delivered that wonderful pre-eulogy. Thank you so much.
And I don't normally do that for anyone, right? You are. So everybody, just so you know, I reached out to Richard. So nearly all the guests that you see are booked by either different agencies or have contacted me directly. Richard's one that I reached out to because I have watched him grow. He has never, one of my biggest pet peeves in real estate is the language of greed. And, greed in the over flashy and, fake it till you make it and all of these things. And anybody who knows me and where I come from knows that community service, that authenticity. I mean, the year I made $1.3 million in commissions, I bought a Volkswagen Bug, right? Because it was my dream car. It was always my dream car. And I've been driving Volkswagen Bugs for 15 years. The beauty of it was I was able to buy it cash, right? That's a very freeing thing. So that is why I reached out to Richard. So we're going to have a really great conversation. And I want to bring this down to brass taxes and really help agents who are maybe struggling, who are moving forward, who are needing that leadership and that guidance, knowing what the next step is, because it's not an easy business, but it's a critical business. It's an essential business in this world. So, Richard, before we get started, give us a little insight as to who you are.
Well, I'm a father of 2. I have 2 boys. I'm a bit of a late start. So around 40, I started reproducing for the first time. So my wife and I have a 6-year-old and soon to be a 4-year-old. And I live here headquartered in North Carolina in the Southeast. And I'm from Florida, and I basically have 2 hobbies, family and, basically trying to help out anybody I care about. It's pretty simple, bifurcated focus.
Absolutely. And now you see why he's here. He doesn't have a lot of hot air, folks. He just a lot of great information. So, Richard, let's move into what you do, why you're on this podcast. In the leadership and the real estate world. So walk us a little bit through what you do?
Well, I mean, I'm in a new space. Basically, not a white belt, but certainly not a black belt. I had been a real estate appraiser and an investor early on out of the gate. And then I realized that there was ceilings of income that were much lower in that service work than there was in commission-based earnings. So I made the swap. And in 2017, when I heard about EXP, it was a very small company, and I saw this opportunity where I could actually help other people around me in a way that wasn't free, because that's all I was doing anyway. I was like sort of the "you got a minute, Rich" in the office. So I figured, if I could develop people around me and get compensated if they're successful, that feels fair. There's a good correlation. So the last 5 years, my job responsibility basically is to develop other people with the skill sets that they have and improve on the ones that they need to have those breakthroughs that have been basically elusive to them their whole lives. And so I work with a small group of people. We have 2,400 agents, which sounds great, but really basically 60 to 80 of those agents are the ones that are willing to do hard tasks over soft tasks. And that's where I spend my time.
So let's talk about that hard task over soft task. I know that I have seen agents come and go, and lots of them. 87% of the ones that I've went through school with came and went. Right. For me, I'd love to know what your hard task, what you equate to hard task, what you equate to success is that you're sharing with your agents.
Well, this is where it gets a little murky because I think I cross boundary lines potentially too freely. But I think, for the most part, the people that sign up with me are looking for the push. So I always feel like if something is showing up poorly in your professional life, it's probably transferring over in your personal life. So what I try to do is use basically common sense and intuition to start seeing what are the things that what are the things that we could fix that would make your entire life better. So for an example, a soft task would be waking up at 7:45, grabbing your phone, scrolling, having a nice warm cup of coffee, jumping in the shower, getting to work at 9:30. Hard task would be setting your alarm, getting up at 5, not touching your phone, going for a run, hitting a cold shower, working out and being present, having some thinking time, and then go right into action. So what I find is, like soft tasks or snacking because you're bored or you're hungry or you love Doritos, which I also love. Hard task is eating just proper food. And we've gotten into sort of a society, especially with men, we've gotten into a society to where we're basically indulging on free dopamine everywhere we go. And what I'm trying to do is bring things back to where we were at 50 or 60 years ago in our mindset, not our sensibilities, right? I like progress. But in our mindset, we have to go out there and work hard. We have to show up. We have to do painful things. We have to stay uncomfortable. We have to continue to learn. And it really sort of simplifies my life and the people that are on board with this to basically doing two real things. It was one, building character. Like we need to build character. And then once you build it, the tandem part of the race is every day trying not to break it. And if we can keep it super simple, like a good 1-2 punch like that, I've noticed that people have transformations. And we're in a very transactional society, and a transformation actually enhances everything, and it has a ripple effect to your kids, to your neighborhood, to your community. So we really basically work on leadership development, character building, and accountability. And it's not very sexy, Kim, because it's hard. But when you're done with it, you walk differently.
I agree 110%. I don't go for a run. I'm going to give you right up front. I have crappy ankles, but I will do a walk. I will do a walk. And do you start them with kind of like if you see that gap, right? So that gap in a personal life is leading to gaps in their professional life. Do you start them like on baby steps, or do you just shove them into the deep end?
No, listen, here's the thing is sometimes they have to go deeper than they want, but there's no shove.
Yeah.
It's an invitation.
Yeah.
essentially, most people are pretty disappointed in themselves, right? I
And
mean,
that's a shame because I think when you can actually see the greatness within, it's easier to become greater. You know what I'm
well,
saying? There's a there's a lot of people that carry around a lot of shame and a lot of embarrassment and a lot of comparison that actually
well,
that comparison is what's drowning them and not allowing them to grow to their own personal greatness.
yeah, I totally agree. I think the sentence before that last part is, how are you rating compared to what your potential is? And then the
Exactly.
comparison, if you're falling short, eats you up. So the way that I feel about people, and maybe this is a bit of naivete, is that most of us are not operating in our consciousness. Most of us are not operating at full
Yep.
mindfulness capacity. And I think that when we get people playing in that space more than autopilot, we start to see transformation. People have not spent any time feeling. We're basically distracting ourselves with easy tasks and then being disappointed that life was less than we had hoped for as children. And what I'm realizing at midlife, I mean, I'll be 46 in July, and I've made all the mistakes, guys. Like, this is not speaking from a place of judgment, speaking from a place of understanding, is that life goes by very, very fast. And I don't want to miss the summers with my kids or the games. I don't want to miss being this young. I mean, for some of you, I'm not that young, but this is the youngest I'll ever be. And it's also
Yep.
the oldest I've ever been. And there has to be a fusion of being present and not always living in the past and not always living in the future. And I think what I have started to realize, and I basically am teaching it solely through experimentation on myself, is that I must take care of my body. I must wake up in the morning early. That's my way of showing gratitude, is thank you, Lord, for giving me none of these things that are debilitating. Like, exercise to me is a privilege. And I'm not a big fitness guy, right? I'm just saying it's a privilege to be able to maintain a working body, right?
Yeah.
And it's a responsibility to be able to keep my mind sharp. And it's important to be giving and to lean into the world and share and help get people get them a little push, just a little nudge out of the way. But most importantly, you got to be doing something that's different. And what I've noticed is that some people actually just really want to do it with you.
Exactly, exactly. We're pack animals. We are pack animals. Are you in the right pack that will lead you to progress and will lead you to opportunity? Um, and if you're sitting there going, "Oh God, it's easy for him to say that," the reality is, and I want everybody to take this away. I had a great conversation the other day with a neuroscience, like we're talking PhD in neuroscience. Our brain is wired for you to find fault with everything Richard just said. For those who are successful, it is an everyday practice. It is an everyday practice. It is a conscious effort. So that's when you're talking about the being present. Real estate agents have the opportunity of building community. Truly, in the very literal sense,
Mhm.
we are bringing neighbors together. How do you feel that this mindset, this behavioral set contributes to building community?
Well, I think, basically community is tied together with relationships, and we're in the relationship business. And a lot of people, I think, in this business get a terrible stereotype that they're chasing commissions. And I haven't found too many of those agents out there. I've been doing this for a long time. I found agents I don't like him, but that's a personal opinion. I haven't found a ton of agents that are just counting pennies all day long. Most agents, despite whatever idiosyncrasies they have, are trying to represent their client, or even sometimes over representing their client to where it's harmful. But the intention is pure. And I think that when you have people that are really, really trying to put people first and keep long-term relationships where you actually get a chance to know each other and you don't use the prosthetics of social media, but you actually connect and engage. I think that's where it starts to happen. And there's different communities within the community. So in the most literal sense, yeah, we help developers find dirt. They build houses. We sell them. We put people in them. We help people move from them to other places. We connect neighborhoods. We do all kinds of community service. But the community within the service industry that is taking care of that is where I've ended up focusing on. So nobody seems to really take care of realtors. Realtors are constantly, paying rent to some mothership throughout the course of their entire careers, which are very long, right? Your average real estate agent's in their 50s. It's not your regular gig. So what I try to do is take better care of agents. Now, some of that is based on here, this is what's available for you to use discernment. But others is like kind of how are you managing your day? Like I see a lot of realtors have very strong boundary lines with their family and loosey-goosey boundary lines outside. So you're at dinner, you take a phone call, you're basically saying to, I'm saying to my wife and my two kids, this person is prioritizing, I'm prioritizing this person. Where the fact of the matter is when you can set expectations, I think you have a much smoother way. So we have to do so much work because realtors have no training and they form bad habits, and then they get rewarded for doing enough bad habits at a consistent level to build themselves on a hamster wheel and get caught up. And then they get the mindset that they don't want to change anything because they're successful in a business where most people are not, referencing your earlier number, 80 something percent of people are out. So we have to actually go back and sort of reset the broken bones, restructure them and correct them to where they can have balance. They can pay themselves first. They can save. They can build diversified incomes. They can invest. They can learn other niches of the business. It's really alarming. Basically, if you could fog a mirror and write a check, you get a real estate license in most parts of the country.
Yep.
So there's a lot of work to do, and it's actually good work because what you notice is that when you see these agents actually adopt new habits despite their resistance, you start seeing different people emerge. And I'm sort of addicted to that at the moment.
It is a pretty amazing feeling when you feel that when you see the shifts around you. That's what's really amazing. Because we're legacy makers. I truly believe that we help others see and achieve their legacy opportunities. We can actually shift what happens for somebody's grandchild. Like,
Yeah.
can you imagine? This is such a cool feeling. Let's talk about. I want to give some practical tips. So we talked about the health and fitness. We talked about getting up. We talked about applying boundaries. Give me 3 things that you've seen on a regular out of all these people that were kind of those warning bells that they're not operating their business at they're not optimizing their business to where it's balanced. It's creating that health space. What are the 3 things that you've seen on a regular that you have to get people to rethink or to change their mindset?
Unfortunately, for so many people, they have to hit pain before they fix things. Okay. And I have also suffered from that, where I think I'm starting to actually find some wisdom is that I'm able to change before pain happens now. So I'm thankful that that's at least, it's not a perfect science for me, but it's within my awareness. You see the symptoms are very similar. You see people that have too much on their plate, they're overcommitting, they're disorganized, they're busy, they're canceling things, they're showing up late, they're a mess, right?
Yeah.
You see people that have bad boundary lines, and you can see them online all night long, and they're basically over plugged in this neurotic, anxious-filled way of making sure they don't miss anything because we are feast or famine, right? Another way that you see it is by the way that they're showing up. You can feel their energy field, right? There's a lot of burnout, a lot of tired, and a lot of negative emotions when you do this long enough, right? I've never had a job before. I've always been self-employed. I've always had an S corp. So when you see that, you can either ignore it like everybody else around them is doing it, or you can say, hey, listen, are you tired of feeling this way? I think there's a few very, very simple things that we can do. So then what is the solution? And the solution is basically you need to be traveling. You have to have some pack hunting together. You have to travel with other people that are doing hard things and keeping you accountable, and you're keeping them, because we're not self-accountable, right? And then you have to start controlling your launch. So like the way you wake up in the morning is so important. What you get done before 10 o'clock in the morning is so crucial, right? Every time you have a negative thought, you have to think about, can I filter this or just release this, or, hit it and put it in the trash bucket in my head, What am I going to focus on? Am I going to be an expert at all the bad things, or am I going to focus on things that I actually can control? And you can control a lot of things in this life. So it's just basically more or less them being in a place where that behavior is not allowed. So like if you put like a really disrespectful wild kid in my house, I wouldn't really have to parent, because my wife is going to make 3 meals a day, and they're going to have a nice, comfortable place to sleep in, and they're going to put their shoes away. And my boys are going to be operating in a pattern that shows this is the way that we operate here. So it's an environment that breeds focus and willpower and discipline. And when we put folks around several people like this, and they haven't been exposed to this type of surrounding, we start to see them feel uncomfortable for dragging the pack down. Because normally when you have like on a soccer team, you put your best players with the worst players don't get better. That's the theory, but it's not true. It's the best players don't play to the top of their ability, right? So what we try to do is take people and put them into groups that are running their pace. And then as we start seeing people emerge, we move them into the next group. And what I'm trying to do, successfully and unsuccessfully, is lead the pack and give them margin for improvement. But I am also a very flawed human being, and I have my own crap. So I am constantly trying to not break character, and I'm trying to surround myself with other people to where if they feel like the delta between them and myself is too narrow to follow, there are other people here that can bring them further than I can.
And that's the nature and nurture scenario, right? So that's
Yeah.
the nature and nurture scenario. And real estate, it's interesting because the opportunity of stepping back a little from real estate is seeing it more as a holistic industry. And the real estate professionals many times don't treat themselves as the professional. And then they bring all of their presets. So, I mean, I had an experience of an agent who has been in 5 brokerages in 7 years. What does that tell you? And it's always somebody else's fault. And that, we all come with baggage. I don't know a single human being that doesn't have some sort of baggage. I know that when my kids as young adults get their therapy, it will all be my fault. I made too many meatloafs. But the reality is we all have baggage. It's how you choose to deal with that. Our brains are wired, and I love this saying, our brains are wired to look for sharp edges. Our brains are wired. We actually are still working with caveman brains who are waiting for something to eat us, right? So they're looking for danger. It's not looking for the positive, and it's not looking for the happy. It's looking for, oh my God, what's going to kill me today? So if that's what you're working with, and you choose, because you attract the business that you like attracts like, right? And if you're sitting here going, oh, this person that and that person that, that's a business you're going to attract, right? I'm going to be fully transparent, folks. I worked with my husband for 20 years in real estate, and if we found that it was a cheating scenario, I did not go to the listing evaluation. My husband would go to him, and I will tell you why. Because if they did that to somebody, they would enter an existence. And I know I'm going to get hate mail. Y'all can hate all you want. But here's the reality. If you don't honor contracts and agreements, then, why would I want to step in there and do that? It wasn't worth the transaction to me, right? So really knowing your baseline and aligning with a sphere, with the community, that propels you forward and challenges you. What is education wise? Let's talk about education, and then I want to move real quickly into what you see as the future for real estate agents. Education. What should agents be doing? What is one book like that you think agents should read to help propel I have my personal favorites. Like I love Bob Berg, Go Giver, things like that. But I derived all my business, folks. I'm going to tell you, from community events, open houses, talking to people, baking cookies. That's how I got all my business. So that's probably not going to work for most people. What's a book you think?
you're a high I, Kim. So you know your entire business plan would be making sure that you don't stay in the house,
Yeah.
right? Because we expose you to the world, and things are going to magnetize your way. Um, I don't know. You know, listen, I probably went 20 years in this business without reading one motivational book or one real estate or self-employed, you know, entrepreneurial book. And then I read a stack of them together, you know, like the E-Myth, Good to Great, you know, Building an Empire. There was a bunch that I read, and Outliers. And I think overall, if I was an agent, what I would try to become is an expert in something. I would find a niche of business that I feel like I would do for free out of passion. And then I would separate myself from everybody else in that space and dominate that space. The idea is that you have to sell real estate for decades. So you better love what you do. It can't just be for your love of people because people are getting crazier. It's got to
Yeah.
be that you like a part of this business so much, architecture, investors, you like numbers, whatever you're hard driven to do, short-term rentals, midterm rentals, anything. I think you need to do that. As far as books, the E-Myth is probably the best one to consider because it talks a lot about the technician, the manager, and the entrepreneur. And I think a lot of us are dropping the ball on 1 or 2/3 of that equation. And now there are options in the world that allow you to address all of those concurrently. So that's probably where I start. As far as the business, where real estate is going, I think every single real estate agent moving forward is going to want to have autonomy and branding.
Hmm.
I think all the young people are going to want to be able to work remotely. I think that most people are going to want a little bit more back than what we've gotten in our past lives in this industry. I think that agents are going to really start changing this business to, it's become a much more exciting career path. You know, I think that when I came over, realtors were like behind car salesmen and lawyers, right? I mean, the world didn't like them. And I don't know if the world's improved their opinion on there, but it seems like a way sexier business now between tiny homes and, you know, people trying to get 1,000 doors. It's got a lot of life in this young group out there. And these people are not going to do it the way that we were trained to do it. They're going to want autonomy. They're going to use their own methodologies to get business, podcasts, social media, masterminds where you're on the back of some dude's, you know, whatever, $20 million boat. I mean, it's not for me, but I think these are spaces that now replace that Ivy League college sorority that you had to be into. So you had lifelong contacts. You can find them. YouTube has replaced college. Like if I want to
Hmm.
learn, you know, bonus depreciation, cost segregation, my God, I could go on Deeper Pockets or Bigger Pockets or any of these other things and just find more information than you can even take in. So we're going to get specialized. We're going to be I don't think we're going to be replaced with an employee-based model. The representation's too heavy.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's just going to be more dynamic.
And there's so many opportunities coming out that are attached to real estate, everything from the financial side in REITs. And people don't stop and think, you know,
Station,
storage is real
yeah,
estate.
cold storage.
Um, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. There's like so many different opportunities. I had a gal on the podcast that her company specializes in car washes. They're actually projecting 250 new built car washes in 5 states. And that is all real estate investment because real estate at its core is owning an asset, right? Is having a hard asset.
So car washes are one of those unicorns with the bonus depreciation cost segregation where you can actually write off far more than you can on a commercial 39-year shelf life of taxes or a residential 27 and a half. Car washes and any kind of company that has 50% of oil or gas involved in the sale, right? So they have the building depreciation, but there's a couple little like loopholes. I don't know who wrote these up, probably somebody in legislation or friends with you do have a couple places, at least in the United States, where those are very sexy things. Car washes are one of the two that I'm aware of. So it's funny that you mentioned that. But yeah, there's
Yeah.
a lot of ways to wealth right now. It's
And
unbelievable.
there's more wealth being created by people who are coming up out of lower income positions, and they are creating the wealth because they themselves are leading with integrity, and that
I'm,
is what I found.
I'm one-
Absolutely. I get it. I'm with you. Like, I mean, I come from a 2-bedroom basement apartment with a single mom and 3 younger siblings, 700 square feet. And mama said, we don't need a dishwasher. She's got 4. So,
It's a
so,
good
this is real estate is a legacy builder.
yeah.
And we are the stewards of that. And that's, I think, what we really have to remember is that we shift the trajectory of people's lives and legacies. Um, I want to go through your socials. I know we've got your website here, Richard Tomasini .com. I love the last name. Is that Italian?
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's an
It-
awesome last name. It's way better than McFadden. There's a reason I became a Hayden. I was very happy to become a Hayden.
You guys get a chance to upgrade. We don't.
So, Richard, do you have give us a bit of insight as to where you're going? Because a lot of what you've talked about is obviously applicable to real estate professionals,
Sure.
but richardtomasini.com, is this strictly real estate, or is there opportunities if somebody is really aligning with what you're saying, and maybe they are not, maybe they're in I've had people on who are in title insurance. I've had people who there's all these different professions. Do you work with people like that?
No, I don't, but that doesn't mean that I won't. Personal development is a real focal point for me, and that is Teflon to any business that you're in. My website is basically, my real estate platform. I have an interactive presentation in there that explains a little bit about what I do, and then you could book an appointment and get a free consultation class from me. So there is access to me through that modality. But if you're trying to do something really big, I'd probably be game for coaching on that. The problem with coaching is that it's so far less lucrative unless you're on a subscription model than what I make in what I do, to
Yep.
where it has to also be attached to a personal story and a real big cathartic win. So if those are possible results, I practically will lose money trying to help somebody else get somewhere. So I don't know if I speak to you, if you're one of those people, I speak to you, book an appointment. Let's investigate what you have going on. Maybe I can help.
And you do speaking though, correct? You do, because you speak on a regular with all your crew.
Yeah.
Have you
So,
ever done any professional speaking, like at the chambers or any places like that?
no, I mean, I spoke right before Tony Robbins in front of several thousand people last summer. Got to meet Dean Graciosi and a couple other very, very
That's
cool
pretty
people
big.
there.
That's pretty big.
Um,
That's going right to
yeah,
the top.
so that's on YouTube if you want to watch me basically almost have a heart attack until I can control my breath. I think that was a good 5-minute internal nightmare for myself, but we got through it. No, listen, I'm not a motivational coach. I am not a public speaker. I'm not someone that's going to save your life. These are things that I'm not. What I am is somebody who is very, very curious and focused on many, many things. And I think that I try to pull and filter through the world things that are actually useful and things that are right. So, I'm on, checking VO2 levels. I'm with the Peter Attia type of mentality. Jordan Peterson lives in my head for 3-4 hours every day. There's all kinds of influences that I have that I've been able to sort of spend the time and kind of sort through the good stuff. And I don't try to plagiarize or adopt it. I basically try to live within those are the basic infrastructures of where I break characters when I go off something that I know isn't hard or isn't right or doesn't have a multiple effect on the world. If it's self-serving, I'm not a prince. I'm not interested in self-serving, right? So it's got to have some kind of compounding effect. So I don't know where I'm going in my life. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to where I spend most of my time with my wife and my kids and stuff like that. But I do think that I'm really about working with people, and I don't know where that's going to lead me, but it'll happen whether I'm aware of it or not.
Well, for right now, if you're in real estate, you're listening to this, you're looking for leadership, true guidance, and you're willing to put in the work and you want to get up at 5 a.m. Go to Richard Tomasini. He
Yeah.
may let you sleep until 6 if 6 works because you're doing
No,
late
I
night.
won't.
No, you got up at 5. Everybody's up at 5. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Richard drives a hard task there. But if you want life
Yep.
changes, he can share with you and lead you in the way that he has changed his own life internally. And
Thank you
that
for your time, Kim. I very much appreciate spending some time with you and your audience.
absolutely. Well, you're a rock star, Richard. Still have that great head of hair. That must be the Italian in you. Okay, guys, sit tight. Watch my awesome closing here. I am so grateful for you sharing your time because we know that our time is our most valuable, non-renewable resource. So protect it, folks. Invest it wisely. Until next time, be good to yourself. Thank you for joining us at the 500 Doors, Your Real Estate Podcast. Be sure to join our Facebook group at Real Estate Success with 500 Doors. Keep on watching and don't forget to like, subscribe, comment,